everybody. This is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And on this week's episode, we're going to discuss the new Liam Neeson thriller. I guess it's a thriller, science fiction thriller. Unknown. The comedy Cedar Rapids with Ed Helms and John C. Reilly. And I saw I Am Number 4, the Michael Bay flick. I guess it's a Michael Bay flick. What would you... I Am Number 4. It's DJ Caruso's flick, the guy who directed Disturbia and Taking Lives. I don't know if you've seen that, the Angelina Jolie.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then we're going to get into our picks of the week, which should be good. Is always fun. So let's kick things off. Unknown.
Do you want to start off by reading the synopsis?
Yeah.
This one needs a synopsis.
Dr. Martin Harris, played by Liam Neeson, awakens after a car accident in Berlin to discover that his wife, played by January Jones, suddenly doesn't recognize him, and another man, Aidan Quinn, has assumed his identity. Ignored by disbelieving authorities and hunted by mysterious assassins, he finds himself alone, tired, and on the run. Aided by an unlikely ally, played by Diane Kruger, Martin plunges headlong into a deadly mystery that will force him to question his sanity, his identity, and just how far he's willing to go to uncover the truth.
All right.
Excitement at every turn.
That's right.
From the guys at Dark Castle, Joel Silver, Warner Brothers. This is directed by, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Jaume Collet-Serra?
I don't know. I had trouble spelling it in the review, let alone saying it out loud.
When he directed, I think it was Orphan that came out in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
I was still having trouble with the pronunciation of his name. Jaume.
We'll call him Jaume.
He also directed House of Wax, so this is his third film for Warner Brothers.
House of Wax starring Paris Hilton?
Starring Paris Hilton. Yeah. I was actually invited to the set of House of Wax, and they... when I was working for IGN, and about a week before we were set to leave for Australia, the set burned down. All the wax went up in flames.
They had the press junket on the set, so we were sitting in the wax rooms doing the interviews, And it's funny because at the time, Paris Hilton was still...
This was like one of her first.
Yeah.
If not first.
MTV was covering, the press junket, and if you, on the DVD, if you go to the extras, there's a pan shot of them trying to go past me as they get to her. It's pretty awesome.
You in the same shot as Paris Hilton.
Yeah. Let's not spend too much time on that movie. Let's talk about Unknown instead.
Well, this was the third film that Jaume, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is directed for Dark Castle, Joel Silver's company. So apparently they've got something good going there, and he did a great job, I thought, with Orphan.
Yeah. Orphan's an unexpected treat.
It is. However, with Unknown, I'm going to say really quickly, I enjoyed the film. My main issue was it lacked humor. It was almost entirely devoid of humor. It took itself too seriously. It became kind of dronish that way for me. But anyway.
I enjoyed it too. I thought the plot was a little too structured, but it worked. My problem with it was I had three problems. January Jones, Aidan Quinn, and the editing. And I don't think January Jones is a very good actress. She's very pretty, but she's a living Barbie doll who stands there. I was telling another reviewer, my favorite moment of the movie in her was when she had her back to the camera and she looked great in that black dress.
Okay.
I just don't, and for me to believe all the stuff, all the red herrings they're throwing at us through this thing, I need to believe that she is emotionally involved in something, and I didn't get that at all.
Well, okay, she starts out in this movie not exceptionally believable, but just to say that an actress isn't believable isn't so much examining what she does, it's just sort of like how, I read it. And, but as her character got deeper, and not so much anything by what she did, but by we find out how she factors into Liam Neeson's life.
Right.
The fact that January Jones is kind of cold makes it possibly a really good casting decision.
Yeah.
She was intentionally distant, and because the question here is how much do we reveal?
Well, I don't think the reveal at the end makes up for when you sit through 2 hours of her like a statue.
Well, let's just say the type of character that she actually is kind of plays to what January Jones actually does, her presence. So I kind of thought halfway through the movie, okay, I didn't believe it at first. I wasn't drawn into what she was doing. I thought she was somewhat phony and robotic, but the purpose of her role in the film kind of made sense. Her being kind of cold.
I can understand that, but I don't think it worked for me at all.
All right, beyond that point, Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Here, he's playing the bewildered man. Sort of like we've seen this guy many, many times throughout the history. The guy that's trying to figure out what's going on.
It happens to him in a lot of movies.
Every weekend.
Yeah.
Every weekend.
Well, the same thing you mentioned about January Jones. I went through with Liam Neeson's character. I thought there were times where, he's a geneticist, a botanist, or some kind of scientist.
A genetic botanist.
And when he starts,
geneticist,
whatever, he's at a conference in Berlin for these people, and he gets in situations that require him to do fighting and car chases and stuff, and he drives and fights a lot better than you would ever think a botanist should. But again, when you get to the end, you understand why he was so good. So your theory I can apply to his character. I just can't apply it to January Jones. And Aidan Quinn, I thought, was just a lump through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really get a lot to do, and he doesn't do it well.
Well, the film kind of hangs on this one moment where Liam Neeson goes back. It has been unconscious for 3 days,
4
I
days,
believe.
yeah.
After he leaves a suitcase at the airport. While they're checking into the hotel, he goes back to get the suitcase. He realizes that he left it at the airport, so he gets in a cab to get him back to the airport to go get it. All this while his wife's checking in, and then the accident occurs while this happens.
Right.
He goes off on the bridge.
Yeah, a refrigerator falls off a truck and
is saved by Diane Kruger. And kind of a neat, harrowing piece there. But anyway, so 3 days later, he gets back to the hotel, is disturbed to find that his wife does not recognize him, and that her husband,
Aidan Quinn,
is
suddenly Dr. Martin.
Him. So this
and he has no passport because he's lost his luggage. He has no ID.
Right. It was like a comedy of errors. The fact that he didn't come into the foyer to prove that to the security cameras that he was actually checking in with her. And
right.
So the levels get deeper and deeper, I suppose.
Or the excuses get bigger and bigger.
As the movie was getting deeper and deeper, I was thinking, man, just would somebody please not take this so seriously? Does it have to be so dark and brooding all the time?
Well,
does it have to be just this so...
What did you want? Jokes?
You can put some humor in this, and it's not like... I mean, take a look at really great thrillers. Like, if you consider Jaws a thriller, it's also so much a comedy.
Right. Well, they're funny moments.
Or Die Hard is an action-packed film. It's actually really a comedy in a way. It's got so many funny moments.
But this isn't an action comedy, though. This is just a thriller.
Right, but it just gets so much bogged down in its own seriousness.
Do you think that's because you weren't caught up in the story enough, or that they didn't...
I needed to be sort of...
I could have tickled you. I could have reached over and tickled you, There's a funny part, Steve.
It needed some levity with humor, yeah. That's just my personal opinion on this one. And especially Aidan Quinn, who's just so serious and such a...
He's not one of my favorite people, so...
Yeah, he's kind of not... He's lost a certain vibrancy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was much more likable 15 years ago, but...
The only thing I've seen him in that I liked recently was when he was Ulysses S. Grant in Jonah Hex. I was like,
yeah.
He looked the part. He was acting like a jerk, and I was like, okay, that was, and it was 2 minutes on screen.
Aidan Quinn might really work being better cast as a bad guy these days.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about him I just have lost kind of interest in watching him do anything. So, and he keeps doing smaller and smaller parts.
Yeah.
He used to. Used to be above the title. Now he's also starring.
And Diane Kruger is actually, I think, well cast in the film.
Yeah.
She plays her part very well.
Yeah.
She's, I guess they sort of developed this relationship, her and Liam Neeson. But she's kind of like this nightlife type individual.
Yeah, she's definitely living off the grid because she's an illegal alien.
Yeah.
And so that's why she doesn't report the accident or, things like that. But, you mentioned humor.
She's got some kick-ass stuff in this movie.
You mentioned humor. And there's a scene where, Liam Neeson goes to her house to hide out, to change. He takes a shower, and they're sitting on the bed, and there's this tension, like you think they're gonna kiss, or something's gonna happen between them, and instead you hear people going at it next door.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That was a good piece. Yeah.
But.
She actually does a really fine job here.
Yeah.
Her presence. She sort of has this edge to her that reminds me of who's the girl from the Bourne Identity movies. The one from the first movie who was killed.
Another
in the second
name I can't pronounce.
From Run Loader Run, whose name I don't remember at the moment. But anyway, also she Diane Kruger in her other films like National Treasure. She had this tinge of a German accent that always seemed to come through in her character.
She's German, isn't she?
Well, yes, obviously, and she was in Troy too. It works for her here.
Yeah,
being very an eloquently.
Do you ever see that
person, an eloquently English-speaking individual.
Do you have her bio on all the paperwork?
No.
She was in a movie a while ago. It was about was it the chorus? She was the daughter of a conductor who was going to get the Russian band back together to play a concert. She was really good in that too. It was different because we see her doing the action stuff like in Inglourious Bastards, and she does some action in this. But
yeah, she does. That scene where she saves Liam Neeson from the sinking car is actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
she gets up on the car, punches through the window, pulls him out.
Yep, she was good, cool. And she does. She has a spark that I think everyone else in the cast is missing. Even though she's in a dangerous situation, there's you can feel the desperation. Liam kind of lumbers through it, and the other two I didn't get anything from. But Diane Kruger has this kind of energy about her, where whether she's but she also has she's given more of a life. She has friends. She has another job. She has things happening to her that are outside the trio of January Jones, Aidan Quinn, and Liam Neeson. They never go outside the three of them, except for when a visiting scientist or someone like Frank Langella shows up for a ridiculous cameo. But speaking of cameos that aren't ridiculous, Bruno Ganz
from Oliver Hirschbagel's Downfall.
Wasn't that
from
great
2005?
He played Hitler. And My American Friend and Wings of Desire. Just looking at when he came on, and he's a guy who does so much with so little gestures, little looks in the movie, because he's a former East German spy living in in the new Germany now. But when Liam Neeson needs help, he goes to him, and this guy it's like you can see him perk up because like
I do like the reveal scenes where they spell everything out.
Yeah.
With Liam Neeson, he's so much of this time he's spent trying to prove who he is and remember what's going on and be earnest enough to convince you that this is the way it was before this thing happened.
Right.
And many times they show you his identification or his passport, and the birth date says 64.
Right. He's only 30.
Yeah.
He's 36 or whatever.
Right. He's a
youngster. He's a youngster.
Like the variant birth dates were like 64, 67. I think there was even one in the 70s, and you're like, give me a break.
That's when he dyes his hair.
It had to have been 54 for real, but anyway.
But I like the way the story unfolded. It had enough. When the tells all start to fall into place, it's again, we talked about where when things get revealed about each character, and they're revealed at a nice pace. They're not all blurted out at the last scene.
Well, yeah, I would say that too. It didn't get boring.
Right. But then you go back, you think about, that's why this happened. That's why this happened. Which you could do with January Jones. You could say that's why she was, so icy. But this guy, how do we pronounce his name? Yao Mei. I don't think he knows how to direct car chases.
There is a car chase in here that
it was
more cars racing through Berlin. I was thinking of God, who's that French car guy that does those high-speed car chases in Paris?
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
He did the guy who produces everything now.
All the James Bond movies. Anyway. So you've got a mini car chase here,
but it's so heavily edited, and it's like cut to the clutch, cut to the driver, cut to the clutch, cut to the driver.
And it does suffer from the even in the close-up fight sequences, the blurs.
Yeah.
So you really don't. see what's happening. It
and
just gets
he
muddled.
needs a steady cam because his camera would swing. You know, like when Liam's dizzy. Oh, the camera's swinging. That movie needs.
You know, in a similar way, the way that Orphan had these, they're like. If you take a montage and you condense a montage down to 3 seconds, where you've got like boom, 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 all this slashy, flashbacky stuff going on, like somebody's just getting this like big, ambush of information coming into someone's head or something. He does this. They're like massive montages or like micro montages, that make for these they're like jarring.
Right, that's why.
And you're not a big fan of that.
No, not if it. There's a difference between a montage of shots and a well-directed car chase. He had a montage of shots played fast with loud music to make you think it was a car chase. Where you take something like John Frankenheimer's Car Chasing Ronin,
right,
or the classic from The French Connection or Bullet. Those were car chases. You saw the cars in long shots, and it wasn't all about the editing and just because you edit it fast doesn't mean
that is
fall
true.
for
I mean,
it.
if you take a look at the Bullet car chase, you'd be surprised how the editing is not so quick.
Yeah.
And what makes it actually really twisting and involving is when those shots are open and unedited, and you're getting the point of view of going down the San Francisco streets, and it works on you. But here, it's just they don't allow you to really feel the chase.
No,
it's very.
It goes back to when someone, when Fred Astaire danced, the camera stayed still and he moved around. In Step Up, the camera, they edit it so you never really see a dancer make a move or do a full dance. It's all edited, here's my feet, here's my hips, here's my eyes.
I wonder if it's the director and the editor trying to exert control over the actor, over the performance.
In the chase?
In the editing, in the fact that you've got like for example, Gene Kelly in Singing in the Rain. If you watch the dance sequence of Singing in the Rain, I think there's maybe only 1 or 2 edits in that whole sequence.
Right.
And that's it. It's the dance. It's not the edit.
Yeah.
Or we've been talking about Jerry Lewis a lot. He does extended gags where it's not the editing, it's the gag.
Right.
It's him in the movie you were telling me about where he's sliding all around.
Yeah, cracking up.
Yeah. Or in the one I just saw last night, Ladies' Man.
Right.
Extended gags where they play out in the environment of these sets and not through the through the editing.
Yeah,
because the director's trying to do something to the performance with the editing, trying to. I think when like in tests on edit audiences, the last thing that these producers or filmmakers maybe want is to not have is to have a lull.
Right.
So this may be done out of fear. All of this crazy editing may be just done out of a being overly concerned about the pacing of the film.
I think it's we talked about Luc Besson and his manufacturing of action scenes.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing where you crank it out, you crank the music up, you edit fast, you do a lot of jerky camera movements, and voila, it's a chase scene. It takes more than that.
And I also think it's not letting the audience own the movie.
No, it doesn't. It pushes me right out.
So there is this distance here in Unknown that happens quite a bit. It's very, dark and brutish and very serious. And, the editing, I didn't have so much of a problem with it as you did, but I think I was just really... At the times where it really was riveted, it's because you just want to know that this guy's going to get it. He's going to figure out what's going on. We know that it's going to happen, but it's okay. I thought it was entertaining. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah. It's funny too when I know I had a point here. Stick with me. It will come up. You're talking about owning the movie. You just don't have that. And it's important for you to own this movie because you want to be pulled in by the story as much as anything else. And so when again those chase scenes are just, I'm like looking anywhere.
Well, I think that take movies from the 70s. If you look at certain aspects of those films, it wasn't the editing. it was the production. It was the vastness of what you were seeing on screen. Some of the great car chase movies from the 70s. And then in the 80s, perhaps what was going on with all this MTV video type quick editing and souping things up in the computer, that may have pulled something away from the 70s, and we still get it today with all the, everything's crying for attention. Edits scream for attention. Edits with slashy, high-sounding, reverberating sound effects and it's like it's supposed to jar you into liking the movie, or pay attention.
Make you feel like you're right there.
And it happens all the time in movie trailers. Like the new trailer for what was the one that Guillermo del Toro's movie with the little. No. It's like the. Oh Christ, I can't remember the name of it, but could have been a great trailer were it not for the fact that they go for the scare, the quick edit, the
God, don't even get me started on the way they edit horror movies these days.
Yeah. Well, this is totally affected by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember? I remember going to the Coolidge. This was a while ago when they used to have 70 millimeter prints.
Yeah.
And
I was talking with some people who worked over there. I was wondering if they still had their 70 millimeter camera and that they'd still be able to do that.
Lawrence of
Projector.
Arabia there. And for those who haven't seen it, it's not a chase scene. It's when Lawrence meets Omar Sharif and they're on camels and the screen's so big and it's so vast. It's a David Lean shot, and then on the left-hand bottom of the screen is one guy in a camel, on the right-hand bottom of the screen there's another guy in a camel. They're like at opposite ends of the theater, and they start going at each other. And it's just this great because again the vastness of the desert and these two men. Then they're close up to show you racing towards them, but so much of it's built on the fact that they're, out of this vastness, there's two guys.
You can build a whole lot of tension with 30 seconds to a minute of a vast screen without an edit to draw you in than what they've done here with The Unknown. So I think we're kind of harping on the same point here.
Right, but one other point. Did this make you want to go to Berlin?
No, it's not exactly a Berlin travelogue.
No, it's a grim city. I know it's supposed to be, but this was like another character in the movie. It's like, Jesus, it's always snowing. Every building has graffiti on it.
The state of Michigan wondered the same thing after the movie Gran Torino came out. After all the tax breaks, they thought, does this make you want to come to Detroit?
No, of course not.
Which was the whole point of them giving them a break in the first place.
Yeah, this is relentlessly bleak, and it's like, I wouldn't want to go there because if anything happens, you're a goner in Berlin. It's like it's still a Cold War beyond up there. No one can help these people. No one. It was that overkill about. It doesn't. A movie like this obviously isn't going to play in the sunshine. But still, it was just grim.
This is direct to video. Yeah. That's what I recommend.
I wouldn't go take
see it, but see it on video. Cedar Rapids. Moving on to Cedar Rapids. I love this movie, and now you're giving me this cold stare.
Silence, yeah. Can you hear me staring on the tape? Read the intro to this one. I'm sure it's riveting.
In Miguel Arteta's new comedy, Cedar Rapids, Tim Lippe, played by Ed Helms, was the guy people always thought would go someplace. But then he just didn't. He's been living in the uber-sleepy town of Brown Valley, Wisconsin. Been living there his whole life, and is still pre-engaged to his 7th grade teacher, Millie Vanderhey, played by Sigourney Weaver, while selling insurance to protect other people's dreams. But now, Tim's stalled life is about to get a kickstart because, for the first time in his 34 years, he's headed to a major metropolis, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where he must try to save his company at a do-or-die insurance convention that, for him, will be entirely non-conventional. That's as far as I'm going to go.
I wouldn't go any further with that,
Yeah, that was fucking painful.
So you dug it?
I did.
Why?
Well, I just kind of like the nuances of this film. Ed Helms' character, Tim Lippe, really likable. Beyond the fact that I think Ed Helms is really funny, it plays itself out pretty much entirely in the environment of this fictitious hotel in Cedar Rapids. And it's as if the hotel is a character itself. You know, the production design, the people are all living like these. I kept thinking of that scene from Fight Club where Brad Pitt is referred to as a single-serving friend, where Edward Norton's character just lives in this perfectly manicured life where everything is like TV dinners, trays, service, shallow hospitality, and that's kind of everything that happens in this hotel, and that's kind of like Tim's life. And you can either play on either end of it. You can play on the end that Alia Shawkat represents. You know, she's the prostitute that hangs outside the hotel. Right. Or you can do what John C. Reilly does. You know, you're living La Vida Loca of this, like, you know, middle class dream.
Or even Anne Heche. This is her week-long vacation from reality. She goes to this hotel and she's the sexy, fun girl. She can't be at home because she's married with kids.
There really isn't anybody in this environment that's like really unhappy with their life. At least the characters that we see.
I think they're all desperately unhappy with their lives.
No. This is the kind of life that Tim wanted. You know, they really like this. There are a couple of people like obviously Thomas Lennon, who plays the senior sales rep,
right,
who does himself in because he doesn't know how to get out of the life, basically. But this is like Shangri-La for them. So there's like meager moments of happiness. Like when Tim walks into his hotel room for the first time, he thinks that it is a sprawling.
He's upgraded to the junior suite.
I mean, it's like the best thing he's ever seen. I mean, it was the first time he was ever on a plane. Just the whole experience of the plane was amazing. But to him, going to this hotel is like going to the Four Seasons, the Ritz.
It reminded me of junketing a little. Yeah. You know, when you finally let into the Four Seasons as a guest, and you're like, wow, this is. And then after you do it for years and you're kind of bored. It's like Four Seasons again.
But Tim, he's so naive. What this movie, I think, sort of represents is it's all about trust. I mean, from what they're doing in selling insurance to how they relate to each other, it's all about trust. And it's these meager little injustices that he can no longer put up with, especially the abuses of power, which Kurtwood Smith plays the guy who's like leading the convention.
Right, the religious salesman,
sort of
leader guy.
Tim's not mentor, but his ideal of what the real life is, but he lets him down.
See, I'm glad you said naive. That was my major problem with this movie, and it was a stumbling block I could not get over. I thought he was the most unbelievable character I've seen in movies since Ace Ventura. He was too naive. He was too...
He lives in a shell.
Nobody lives in
Brown
a shell
Valley.
that thick.
No. It's not so much psychological as it is self-imposed, and that's where the funny is. That's why it's so amusing. He is a fish out of water, except he's not coming from Australia to New York. He's just going from one tiny town to a small city.
Right. But with the fish out of water story, I didn't feel any sense of awe about what he discovers. I just thought he was so fucking stupid. Not naive, stupid. He was annoying the hell out of me, and especially as the movie goes on, things would fall in front of his head. No, he was pissing me off. I didn't think he was funny at all.
Really?
Yeah.
John.
I mean, he does
the
carry
little things that Ed Helms does very funny. But then again, I will say I'm a fan of The Office. I like the type of humor that he does. I like Miguel Arteta's prior films. You did not like Youth and Revolt.
No,
that was pretty funny. But I really liked I liked Chuck and Buck and
Chuck and Buck
Girl.
was a frightening film. The Good Girl was good.
Yeah.
No, and I thought because I thought Helm's character was so shallow, everyone else was overacting to compensate. John C. Reilly goes way over the top.
This is the fun John C. Reilly.
No,
it's a laugh.
It's the uncontrolled
it's a kick in the
John
pants.
C. Reilly.
It's great.
No, he needs control.
These conversations that these guys have in the hotel room, the things that John C. Reilly's character tries to do to him to get him, out of his zone. They're trying to, get this guy to break out of his life.
He should have been.
But I think ultimately what it is that he's so naive that he becomes generally disappointed in people. He's attracted to what's her name, Anne Heche, or Joan, and she lets him down because he finds out that she's married, but she has no moral qualms with, cheating.
Because this is her 2 week past.
Something
from her reality of home.
John C. Reilly is a drinker, partier, roustabout, but he's also really keen on selling insurance, but he just does it in the party way.
Right.
Isaiah Whitlock, who plays Wilkes.
Yeah.
Very matter of fact. He's just, all the little niceties really work, and he's entertained by them. And life just works in a certain way, and you do
maybe
your job.
Maybe it does in Iowa. I just couldn't, maybe that's because I don't believe people like this exist in the world.
No, it is a fantasy. It is a farce.
It's a nightmare. I would go crazy with these people.
Well, yeah, but this is a movie. It's not real life.
I know that. But my reaction to them is just the same as if they were in real life. These people are annoying to me. I would walk out of the room.
It's like the guys who run the show, Stephen Root as the insurance company boss, and what's his name? The guy from '70s show, Kurtwood Smith, who plays the guy leading the convention. They have serious character flaws, and Helm's character Tim believes in the true, purity of people, naively so. So obviously he's headed for destruction. Obviously he believes in the trueness of helping people, whereas Stephen Root, his boss, just needs to get this money in order to cover some bills and take care of personal stuff. So the part that really kills Tim is the fact that he gets recognition for doing something, but this thing that he's done, he's told a small lie. To him, it's a huge, huge thing. Yeah. But to other people, it's a tiny, tiny thing. It's a tiny thing that's going to be like, what's he going to get for it? $1,500?
Yeah,
something like that?
Yeah. Well,
but the minor injustice of that throws his world all out of whack.
I read, I think it was in the Phoenix.
And it's funny.
No, see, I just it was nails on a chalkboard to me. The more that he just got louder and louder.
John, it's his obliviousness to the realities, just like Joan says in the movie.
That
he isn't aware. But it's just a movie. The fact that he's not aware of all these things, he's like a Jerry Lewis character. No. The fact that he isn't aware of all these other things going around him, that's what's funny.
He's more Rain Man than real. He, to me, he was. I mean, just everything with him was like,
the swimming pool scene.
I've never seen this before. I've never seen this before.
The part where he gets enticed to go to this party with Alia Shawkat, and they go to like some biker party type thing.
Right.
Yeah, that was very funny. The whole thing. I thought everything John C. Reilly did in this movie was pretty much hysterical.
So did he. And that's the problem. Not all of it was hysterical. He needs editing. He needs a director. You get the feeling he was just told, go with it. Be funny. So anyway,
I thought the movie was well edited, and and there was great, talking about editing, there was great sound effects editing. They were able to get the actual sound of ice in plastic cups to show you how cheap this world is. Okay. Just the little things like that.
Actually, I had already checked out at that point. There was a review in one of our local papers today that loved this movie and called it Capra-esque.
Perhaps.
And I thought that was stretching it. But I'm not a big Capra fan either, so...
No, this is a movie that just kind of connects with the warm, fuzzy side of me. Like, I like this.
Can we take this? This is Steve's warm, fuzzy side sitting across me. I guess I don't have warm or fuzzy. Not for this.
One of the better things that Anne Heche has done in a while.
Yep. And then,
even she's still hard to like. Because in a way one can relate to Tim because these people have some faults. Mm-hmm. And he believes that people aren't supposed to do these things. They're not supposed to have faults. And so he just kind of sugarcoats his life.
At the end, is his life still sugarcoated, or has he learned anything?
Well, he's learned that you do in life go much farther by telling the straight-up truth. I mean, it's a typical sitcom scenario where one small white lie results in a very painful divulging of truth from the main characters. and everybody either accepts or does not accept that. You basically, the protagonist puts themselves out there to be judged by the
But
collective.
even in sitcoms, when someone tells us a small white lie, it's allowed to build a little. Tim says the lie and then starts going into panic mode because he lied.
Right, he can't. His body physically rejects what has happened.
No chance for anything to build here, because as soon as he says something, he's, oh my god, he starts to freak out.
Yeah.
They slap him, calm him down. Slap me.
Well, I highly recommend it. It was one of the funnier films I've seen recently. So
it's only February, so we'll keep.
You would say yes.
No,
see this movie.
No. I wrote my review and gave it 1 star.
Oh, man. I do not agree with that.
Yeah, that's fine. You can write comments. In fact, if you go to bostoneventguide.com/hubcrawl, that's the new blog. And the review's up there, and you can comment on it.
All right, I'll check it out.
I need some feedback, as much as we need feedback by sending emails and letters too.
Postmoviepodcast@gmail.com or contact@post-movie.net. Anything would be nice.
Anything.
A review on iTunes would be nice.
Yeah.
Anything.
So I think we can agree to disagree on that one.
Moving on?
Yeah, moving on.
I saw I Am Number 4.
I did not.
This is a movie I did not want to see. I won't say it was as bad as pulling teeth to go get me to see this movie, but I was just like not interested in the least.
See, and I listened to that little voice and didn't go.
But here's the thing. My overall assessment of it is it turned out to be fun. I was not very happy with it for the first half of the film, and then, it became kind of fun.
What's it about?
I regret to admit.
Damn you for making me happy.
Yes, I totally feel like, oh man.
I'd already written a review. Now I got to change it.
Damn movie. Why did it have to be fun? Stupid.
So what was it about?
It's based on the first novel in what is a proposed series of 6 books. First being, I guess, I Am Number 4. That I guess was published. Who knows?
5?
Who knows? I'd written a note down here. Apparently, it's written by a pseudonym of 2 authors. Published in August of last year. DreamWorks had purchased the rights for the movie and were making it even before the book hit shelves.
That's a sign of quality literature.
Yeah. The book is by Pittacus Love, which is the pen name for the authors James Frey and Joby Hughes.
How did they get Pittacus? Pittacus?
Yeah.
I wouldn't read a book by
I was thinking this
Pittacus.
was Pittacus for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, here's the summary. I Am Number 4.
Okay.
It's not untitled. But maybe the sequel to this is untitled, I don't know. 3 are dead. Who is number 4? DJ Caruso, director of Eagle Eye and Disturbia, helms an action-packed thriller, this is written by the publicist, about an extraordinary teen, John Smith, played by Alex Pettyfer, who is a fugitive on the run from ruthless enemies sent to destroy him. Changing his identity, moving from town to town with his guardian Henry, played by Timothy Oliphant, John is always the new kid, the one with no ties to his past. In the small Ohio town he now calls home, John encounters unexpected life-changing events.
Is it puberty?
Right.
You can spoil me that far.
His first love, Sarah, powerful new abilities, and a connection to others who share his incredible destiny. Oh, and he also has lights that emanate from his palms.
So it was puberty. That was my excuse.
Well, as it turns out.
Really? The ladies love the electric hands. They do. Trust me on that.
He's got lights that come out of his shins, out of his hands.
Out of his
little, all the pains of growing up.
Yeah, remember the first time light shot at your hands?
Yeah. He kind of has
I
to
thought
deal
I'd
with it.
broken something. My first question, how's Timothy Oliphant? Because I just love him. I just think he's great.
Well, he is good.
Yeah.
He is good, but he's not the best part of the movie. In fact, the movie kicks up into gear after he kicks out of the equation.
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah, as much as that I would have liked to have told you that, yeah, it's all about Timothy Oliphant being kick-ass and everything like that, he's a supporting character.
And who's the blonde?
And the movie doesn't kick into gear until after he's done his job delivering all the exposition.
And who's the blonde chick that was in Take Me Home Tonight?
Oh, right.
Australian.
Teresa Palmer.
She's in it. Right?
Very good.
Yeah.
It's a very supporting role, and part of what makes the movie kick into gear towards the end is because of her.
Does lightning shoot out of her?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
As it turns out, big surprise, John Smith, is from another planet.
No way.
I kid you not.
He's not from Cedar Falls?
And he is one of the very few on his planet who are capable of destroying the Magadorians.
No.
Who have come to Earth to try to destroy these people who have lights that come out of their hands. Just, the very few. They are like the Jedi of their species. And
how did I know we'd get
so
that
they are on the run, and Timothy Oliphant's character Henry is John's protector.
Right.
So he provides all the information he needs to survive and kind of get by in the world without being noticed.
Uh-huh.
And doesn't so much happen, because of this world where people are filming stuff and taking photos
he's also
and putting things online.
In small town America where they can shoot lightning out his fingers. And do the macadamias find him?
They do. They do. They have these like giant bat-like rat dogs that go chasing after.
Of course they do.
The other numbers at the beginning of the film. So the first three are killed in different parts of the Earth.
Right.
And they show that in succession of clips at the beginning of the film, and so you get to number 4, who's next on the list. Not sure that I'm not sure that he knows that he's the one who's next on the list, but
he says it in the trailer.
The only
what
people
number
that
am
can.
I?
Yeah, the trailer does give that away. The only beings capable of killing the Magadorian race, who are just basically like killers and conquerors, are these. I don't even know what you call them. The beings that have the lights emanating from their palms. So
they don't have a name? No.
Well, strangely enough, when people die or beings from this other planet or whatever die in this movie, they turn to stone and then fizzle away. Blown into a million red and orange bits that are blown into the wind.
Like pop rocks?
So the movie is just, it's kind of got these Twilight-ish elements where while he's trying to be not noticed by the great many, he's wanting to be with Sarah.
The girl from Glee.
Yeah. Love knows no bounds, or obstacles. So they'll do whatever they can to be together, even so much as directly disobeying Henry. And of course, they fight over it and stuff. So it sort of comes down to this scenario where he's made himself visible and able to be hunted by the Magadorians. And the movie actually kind of kicks into gear when the lead Magadorian guy gets close, and he starts finding and trying to get information from John Smith's, the people that have seen him, that might know where he is.
Right.
And the guy who plays him, Kevin Durant, is actually really good, really menacing. So the introduction of the really good bad guy kicked the movie into gear.
Okay.
Kevin Durant was Little John in Robin Hood. He's been in a couple of other things, but he's still an unknown presence.
Right.
But he has his makeup. The makeup, the look of the Magadorians is kind of cool. The makeup, their extra gills on their face are a bit unsettling. There's some humorous moments where they're trying to make their way in the quote unquote the real world of Ohio, but yet they're like 7 feet tall and they have these like giant Frankenstein boots.
Yeah, like Gene Simmons trying to fit in.
I was thinking the same thing, like Gene Simmons going shopping. So the movie does kick into gear with some great action sequences in it, and it steps up a level when number 6, Teresa Palmer, introduces herself. Now, she's a very thin character. She's just, real simple. Just has a purpose to, just kill the Magadorians and protect John if she can.
This is PG-13. It's got to be, right?
It is. It's all done in the PG-13 vein. I was really thinking, I just couldn't wait to get out of the theater. And then when things started picking up, action-wise, it became fun. And there's a terrific battle between the Magadorians and John Smith and Teresa Palmer.
Number 6?
The end. Yeah, number 6. The last half hour of the movie is pretty sweet. Of course, they have their Disney-esque pet that follows them around to keep tabs on them. And it's sort of like this shape-shifting basset hound.
Okay. For a second there you had me going like, all right, I'll check this up. And then when you said those words, shape-shifting basset hound.
Yeah, well,
Nope.
they must have had the right crowd watching this movie, because as much as there were scenes where the crowd was out and out laughing at it, the lines, the moment, the make-out between Susan and John, just people just laughing at it.
Right.
And then the movie got to a point where people were cheering with it, so I don't know.
It's probably designed for that audience who's going to read the book or who have read the book, or
if it connects with the right audience, it'll do well. It's definitely the 18
again.
and under 30, based on the young adult.
I can't go. They're not my people.
It's not bad.
No.
It's not bad. So
I think I'll wait to
because
see that TV, though.
because the movie isn't so very tight for the first half of it, and then it kind of kicks into gear, and it doesn't even so much kick into gear because it's like great writing, or pacing or anything. It's just the action kicks in,
right?
And it becomes a bit more defined, because up until we really get to see the Magadorians, things were kind of unclear as to what was really the essence. So what kept you going, kept me going in terms of interest was you kind of minimally wanted to know about these characters who were just ultimately shallow. Shallow. So, for example, take the characters that we were introduced to in The Roommate.
Yeah.
Put them, who, by the way, is also Diana Agron.
Okay.
Put them in this movie, and you can see what kind of trouble one would have in order getting to like them, because everything is shallow.
Right. Except
for Timothy Olyphant, who's a talented actor. So he makes, because of his presence and his ability to do these little things that can make you interested in his character, he has that talent. The other actors, pretty shallow. But then the story kicks in with the action.
Yeah.
And then the extra shallowness of all the action just makes things more interesting.
I don't want to just focus on the basset hound, but is he kind of like having Scrappy Doo?
No.
You know what I mean?
The dog doesn't talk.
Right. But it's not that annoying. Like Scooby-Doo
it was so
can
stupid.
talk, but when Scrappy-Doo came up, it's like I don't need this.
The thing that kind of was so stupid about the dog is that John and Henry take up residence in a new house, and there's a rainstorm that happens. When they get into the house, there's a rainstorm, and they are basically kind of on the run still at this point. They get into the house, they lock all the doors, they make sure that everything is impenetrable in a sense, and then they hear a whimpering outside, and John goes outside and he sees the basset hound kind of like limping, and he takes the dog in. So at this point, the movie just keeps on going. They've stolen someone's dog. Yeah. They've not reported a missing dog. They've not inquired with anyone about this dog. All he did was walk into the front yard. Pull the dog out from beyond the side of the bushes and bring him into the house. And the dog is referred to later on as theirs. In other words, owned. Yep. In other words, stolen dog. Well, no one has reported.
Stolen shape-shifted basset hound.
They stole a dog from the front lawn.
Well, they're not human. They don't know all the laws.
So,
well, I'm gonna say rental.
It's a thread. Yeah, it's a rental. It's a rental.
Speaking of
loose plot lines, loose threads there of the plot.
That's fine.
Speaking of rentals,
yes.
John, picks of the week.
Yep.
What have you got?
I've got Summer Wars.
Summer Wars.
It's an anime directed by Mamoru Hosoda. Mamoru Hosoda. He directed The Girl Who Flew Through Time. It's a story about it takes place in the near future where everything's kind of controlled the way it is now on the internet, but this is called Oz, where you do your shopping, your virtual life. Everyone in Japan is hooked into this big web thing called Oz. The lead character is a math nerd who works updating Oz. The hot girl from school asked him to do her a favor. He goes out to her family's house in the country, where he finds out he's supposed to pretend to be her boyfriend because her grandmother's dying and she needs someone to be her boyfriend, so her grandmother dies happy. One morning, the kid gets a math problem sent to him on his cell phone, and he's such a nerd, he just solves it. and sends the answer back. The next morning, Oz is crashed. Everyone's information is gone. Someone's taking control of everything is computerized, from your bank account to the water and power to the military. And part of the movie is this action thriller about how they're going to stop whoever has stolen Oz from having a satellite fall in Tokyo. Half of it takes place inside the world of Oz, and it's eye-popping.
Really?
It's just this fantastic, and this is all anime, so it's this fantastic, these characters who fight, their avatars fight in Oz. And one's like a rabbit, and one's a giant, like, Indian god, and they fight. You got to see it, because I can't describe it. But then, underneath all this other stuff that's going on, all the action stuff, there's this great story about family. The math nerd doesn't have a family. His family died. And he gets adopted by this wacky family out in the country, this really big extended family. And they have, each member of the family gets enough time to have its own personality and how they work together to save the world. Thoroughly enjoyable. I had a chance to see it at the Museum of Fine Arts on the big screen.
Sweet.
And it was great. And then Funimation just sent me the DVD, and it's pretty damn good. So I would highly recommend that.
And I will definitely be on the lookout for it. I'm hoping that it would play around here theatrically again.
Yeah, it should. It looks great. Like I said, on the big screen, it just looks fantastic.
Man, for my pick of the week, I chose Unstoppable. It's a film I think we both liked that came out back in November. It's the Tony Scott action flick with Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, with the runaway train that has all the chemicals on it. It's basically like 70 plus miles an hour, and it's heading toward another chemical plant in the city, and it's just like it's a giant missile.
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, well, it's a short film, and but you know, I mean, it does have that editing that you had mentioned before that kind of annoys you. But Tony Scott has had that.
That's what Tony Scott does.
You know,
and it's a very short movie, and a lot happens.
Yeah, yeah, but his editing is also, his cuts leave you with these lingering images of where the cut was, like the smile on the person's face, or the little thing that they did, that sort of defined what was happening there. He's got these kind of character-driven cuts.
Okay.
Because as though you're really watching people's faces, and it is, it's really surprisingly to many people, it was actually a really good movie, and on Blu-ray it was super cool. And it's got some really cool extras. Tony Scott does the commentary, and there's they do an anatomy of a train wreck, which is the action stuff. I like the stunt work type of documentary.
And it's something you mentioned too. This is a good example of how humor is used in an action movie, because it's a pretty funny movie.
Yeah.
Whether it's the banter between Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, is it?
Chris Pine, yeah. Well, that's what makes it so interesting.
Rosario Dawson.
They really play off each other. And she's got a great sense of humor about her job.
Yeah.
So humor in action movies, I say it many times, exceptionally important.
Right.
Even in a thriller. And sometimes I wonder if the directors and the producers of the films are just so keen on the fact that they're making a thriller that humor is gone.
Right.
It's actually such a key element. I can't even tell you. Watch Die Hard again. Keep a lookout for all the jokes. Keep a lookout for all the humor.
And that humor makes you care for the characters more. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's not forced. It's not them telling jokes. It's more humor from characters.
The humor which was so great about the Poseidon Adventure.
Right.
And Towering Inferno.
And also, we had just talked about horror movies.
Yeah.
Humor is great in horror movies, too.
Great.
It sets you up for the next kick in the head.
It makes the story accessible. It makes the characters more accessible. So
I see on your list there, too, you've got one of my all-time favorites.
Yes, my next one here, I'm going to do two. I've got Mel Brooks' High Anxiety from 1977.
High Anxiety.
Loved it. I saw this 4 times in the theater when it came out in 77. I was going through... may or may not have been because I was going to the theater so much because of Star Wars, but High Anxiety, I loved it. Loved it. Mel Brooks, it looks great on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
it really fills the screen. It's not like 235:1. I mean, they really fill the widescreen with the Blu-ray. And when 20th Century Fox was releasing the Mel Brooks movies last year, they produced all these mini featurettes on each of his films, and he does a really good one for High Anxiety, talking about how he got Hitchcock's approval, how it was so much a homage to Hitchcock. Yeah, he talks about having dinner with him and just speaking with him even, prior to his death, and the fact that Hitchcock got a kick out of High Anxiety. And Cloris Leachman in this movie is just freaky.
What's her name? Nurse.
Oh my God. Was that Nurse Rat? No, Nurse Ratched is. I'm thinking. Cuckoo's Nest. But no, I can't remember her name. But it was disturbing.
And Harvey Korman.
Just so gross. And Harvey Korman, yeah.
But do you think?
And Madeline Kahn with her matching suitcase and car. Matching person car.
With something like this, do you think you need to know Hitchcock movies to enjoy it? Just as much fun without?
No, it still works without it. You may wonder why a few things go down, but he parodies most of the stuff pretty obviously. With the Birds and Vertigo and North by Northwest, and of course Psycho in that terrific scene with Barry Levinson stabbing him with the newspaper. Here's your newspaper.
I just remember. My favorite was, a lot of, Mel Brooks movies, I always need to pick up one thing that I'll quote forever. Harvey Korman is tied up and hanging by his wrist in Cloris Leachman's closet. And she opens the door and he's like, less bondage, more discipline.
Freaky. And she's thoroughly disgusting in this movie.
Yeah.
Terrific film.
Yeah, I'm glad, and it holds up too.
It does hold up. It's not a perfect film. It does have its flaws, but its clunkiness is part of its charm.
Yep.
So very much enjoyed it. Was happy to see it again on Blu-ray. I highly recommend it. So I think we're done.
We are, sir.
Cool. So hey, check us out on Facebook. We're on Facebook, and we're also on iTunes. And we'd love a review. If you could leave us a review, that would be so incredibly awesome. I haven't checked there to see what the deal is, but if anybody out there has it in them to leave us an iTunes review to up our profile, we'd be very grateful. And so, as always, if you have any questions, send us an email. We're at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com, and we're at contact@post-movie.net. And all of our shows are online at post-movie.net. So check it out, give it a listen, and if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
So long, everyone.